with an additional 5 more permitted. We have been lucky that many of these solar fields are tucked away, well off the main roads, and have none or few abutters. Other solar fields have had a handful of abutters. A couple solar arrays financially benefit the church and assist a manufacturing company, and are understandably a part of the renewable energy movement. However, with additional large solar projects coming, more and more residential neighborhoods will be affected, and the planning board will be faced with more distraught abutters demanding protection. Last year, I sat in on a site plan hearing and was told that due to Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 3, that towns are mandated to allow these large ground-mounted solar arrays. I have since sat through more planning meetings, listened to solar companies with their lawyers and engineers. I've watched as distraught homeowners were told that there was nothing they could do to prevent the clearing of 20 acres of woods behind their homes. The meager offer of small trees was given. I continued to hear that it was the state and that there was nothing they could do to stop the large projects. So I did some homework, and this is what I found. The planning board was absolutely correct in that we cannot stop solar. But what they did not know that was in 2014, the Department of Energy Resources provided towns and planners with a document titled Model Zoning for the Regulation of Solar Energy Systems. The Central Mass Regional Planning Office conducted workshops for towns to also help them in adding reasonable regulations for this new industry. All the towns around Charlton have already voted in regulations. I stopped counting at 40. These regulations did not stop solar from leasing land, building their fields, but the residential abutters' homes in the towns are now better protected with minimal cost to the solar companies and no cost to the landowners or the town. This moratorium would allow time for our planning board to have a committee to review these guidelines and present regulations specifically for solar. An example of regulations could be an increased buffer zone when an array abuts a residential neighborhood. Charlton currently requires a 20-foot side setback from the property line. Require adequate screening trees at a minimum of 6 feet to provide quick visual mitigation. A quality fence that has no less than 4 inches from the ground to allow small wildlife to access the property. Restrictions of herbicide use under the acres of panels. This will prevent groundwater and well contamination. And an increase in decommissioning bonds so the town does not get stuck footing the bill for disposing of the hazardous cadmium found inside the glass panels. Requiring an operations and maintenance schedule so the burden of inspecting the fencing, the landscaping, the oils in the transformers is on the solar company to provide, and not the landowner, the abutters, or the town's responsibility. The solar companies should be regularly informing the town of their inspection results. So these are some of the guidelines that the planning board could adopt if given the timeout that a moratorium could provide. Our intent is not to fight solar. It generates a lot of tax money. Many people in town and in this room are employed with this industry, from tree clearing companies, trucking, and excavating companies. What we want is some protection to better coexist with this industry. Solar companies have their attorneys to protect their interests. The town and its residents need and hope you protect our interests. So we hope that you support the article presented actually by the Board of Selectmen. We've met with them, and we agree in their wording, and they let us use Jim Cosgrove, so it's a good legal document. If that passes, then we will table indefinitely our citizen petition article. So we hope you support us this evening.
Yeah, and if I may just reiterate a little bit about what Lori said. My name is Karen Spiewak, and I live at 90 Osgood Road. And I, too, do not live, my land does not abut a solar array, nor do I have the lovely view of a solar array so far. But I did just want to really stress that what Lori had said, This isn't about being against solar. It's here, more is going to come, we know that. By agreeing to just co-sponsor the article with the Board of Selectmen, you're saying, we're coming out in unison again, saying, you know, we understand, we need a timeout, we need to catch up, we need to do what so many of the other cities and towns across the state have done. That's all. So, anyway, thank you for your time. I know it's not easy. Have a great night.
Thank you. Planning board discussion, questions?
I think it makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm not opposed to
No.
it. I would agree with the selectmen's version, and if that's agreeable to everybody, I would say that we go with that versus the citizens petition. But we would like to hear from the people in the audience, I think.
I'd like to second Jeannie's thoughts, because I agree, because the selectmen have a little bit, in their wording, they're going to do some studying,
Yes.
which is what I liked, which is why I liked their version of the bill, or the warrant. And I do agree, it's only taking a year off.
So there'll be an advisory committee, and I agree.
Exactly.
Do we have comments from the audience?
Are you taking a
Please
vote?
state,
Yes, certainly. George
your-
Corinzi, I'm an attorney representing a solar company and certain property owners in the town.
Would you like to have a seat and
Sure.
speak into the microphone?
Certainly. I know this is on the, is this the microphone? I know this is on the citizens petition, but you've already started talking about the select board petition, so I'll either reserve my comments for that formal public hearing, or whether or not you want me to just jump right into it now.
what does it make sense to, how does it work officially?
Well, I think you should wait till 7:15 to open the selectmen's article. Yeah.
And then we should have
And then-
everybody sign in for the selectmen's.
Right.
also.
My comments would be applicable to both petitions, so it's, you want me to wait till you open the next one?
Then perhaps if we have someone who is more open, or only has comments for the public, I
For
mean,
the citizens.
the citizens petition, exactly.
Thank you.
Just to make it
Thank you.
official.
Thanks, George.
Good evening. Nelson Santos here, Fletcher Tilton. I represent Energy Development Group and its sister company, Infinity Energy. We have before this board, or was before this board, a project at 75 Brookfield Road. And this moratorium will affect us moving forward, because just on April 4th, we were before this board, and we got approval to move forward verbally. And at this point, we're just waiting for the written decision in order to apply for the building permit, which is an issue for us. Because if the decision doesn't come out, we can't apply for the building permit, and we can't move forward with the project that our clients have spent over $100,000 in permitting, surveying, engineering. And we understand the citizens', request here tonight, but based on projects a list that was provided by the assessor's office, right now, there's a huge tax benefit to the town for having these solar array systems available. Based on the information provided, in fiscal year 2020, there'll be about $951,000 of tax dollars, and that includes our project. So there's about 20 projects, or about 20 or 25 projects outstanding, and then the 5 that are pending. So if the board were to move forward and approve this moratorium, we would request that the projects that have been approved and are waiting on decisions would be allowed to move forward at that point.
Bill, can you?
Yeah, that's how I
So
understood.
legally, they would be okay.
Yeah, I think
right?
so.
Well, the moratorium goes into effect, sort of partially goes into effect the date it's published in the
Mhm.
paper. In order to have protection from the moratorium, you need your building permit prior to the publication
Mhm.
of the notice,
Mhm.
and that has already happened. In the past couple of weeks, we've been getting a lot of calls from engineers and attorneys about various techniques that they can do to gain protection from the moratorium. We've been getting subdivision plans that have been proposed to the planning board, which provides them a plan freeze so that they get locked in at the old zoning, should the moratorium go into effect. So the fact that you don't have your building permit yet means that you wouldn't have protection from the moratorium should it pass.
We would just request that. We're just waiting on the decision.
Sure,
So
it's coming.
if that could be expedited,
Sure.
we would appreciate
Okay.
that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Do you want to open the public hearing for the other?
Do we have to close?
No,
No.
let's keep it open.
I know it sounds silly, but if you were also here for the selectmen public hearing on the cellar, would you please sign it? Thank you.
Being 7:15 pursuant to MGL Chapter 48, Section 5, the planning board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 25th at 7:15 on a proposed zoning amendment submitted by the Board of Selectmen to amend the Charlton zoning bylaw by adopting a town-wide moratorium on the issuance of building permits for ground-mounted solar energy installations, having a minimum capacity of 250 kilowatts. Said moratorium would remain in effect until the 2019 annual town meeting.
I have a question. These sign-up sheets that you're passing around, they're both for the moratorium. One's for the Board of Selectmen and one's for the citizens petition.
Correct.
Why should we sign one versus the other, or both, or what's the reasoning behind this?
Well, it just provides a record of the attendance for each of the public hearings.
Okay, fine, thanks.
So you're welcome to sign both, if you're here for both.
Okay.
Do we have somebody making a presentation
Is
on
anybody
this?
from the selectmen here who wants to speak to the article? I guess I can just give a brief
Thank you.
overview of it. The main difference between the previous article and this article is they both attempt to do the same thing. They both establish a moratorium for a one-year period, which runs until the annual town meeting of 2019. They both would prohibit the issuance of building permits for solar projects during that period of time. The main difference is that the town article has a requirement for the town to establish a study committee to look at the zoning issue for solar projects and to report back to town meeting with some recommendations for amending the zoning bylaw so that as the town goes forward and the moratorium is lifted, there are presumably better regulations in place that would provide guidance to the planning board in enacting on these solar projects. The purpose of this one is, as the proponent mentioned, was that they wanted to be sure the article had the proper legal form, so the selectmen asked town council to draft this article to make sure that it would pass, legal muster, should it be approved by town meeting. But the intent is to accomplish the same thing with just a few additional changes to the original article.
Do we have any questions, comments on the board?
Nope.
Um,
I have a question.
Come up front,
State your name and
address.
address, please.
Donna Brunel, Brookfield Road, 261, excuse me. My question is, if the solar fields that are already there, and the 5 that are in question, if new regulations are adopted, will they pertain to the ones that are, solar fields that are already present, and the ones that are,
Well,
in process?
yeah, it's a good question. What we think is going to happen is that if you are able to gain protection from the moratorium, you would comply with the existing regulations. If you don't have protection from the moratorium, you would have to comply with the regulations once they were brought to town meeting in 2019 and adopted. So if anybody submitted an application after town meeting, they could do so, but the town could not issue a building permit for the project. And any additional regulations the town might adopt, the project would have to comply with those. So that's sort of my understanding. I could be wrong, but I think that's the way it would work.
And that goes with even the 5 that are pending.
Well, the five that are currently in process are attempting to gain protection from the moratorium. So if they do that successfully, then they would not have to comply, that they could go forward. They would just comply with the current regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. George Carizzi. Again, I'm an attorney. I represent a sole developer and certain property owners. I've submitted to this board and to the select board a letter earlier. I'd like to touch on a few points that were made in that letter. Whenever we look at land use or zoning controls, we have to first study what Massachusetts law provides for land use controls in Massachusetts. And Massachusetts has the zoning act. It's the act under which this proposal is made, on which the select board's proposal is made. And towns adopt bylaws under the zoning act that regulate land use in town. Massachusetts carves out certain uses that they deem to be a priority use, and those uses are either exempt or restricted in as far as what the town can do relative to zoning restrictions. Those restrictions and exemptions are contained in Section 3. And Section 3 establishes priority uses. Solar is one of those priority uses. And under Section 3, no zoning bylaw can unreasonably regulate or restrict solar in a town. And so whenever you look at a zoning bylaw amendment or change, you look to see whether or not it is consistent with the enabling legislation. So before we look to see what's going to happen, take a look at what Charlton currently has in place. And here, Charlton is ahead of the class. Charlton's bylaws, as they are now, are model bylaws relative to solar regulation. Other towns look to Charlton's when they look to adopt bylaws and regulations regarding site plan review and solar projects in their town. So what makes Charlton's bylaw good now? First, solar is permitted everywhere. That's something that Section 3 would have, that's consistent with the priority use established by the legislature. Secondly, solar is allowed only with site plan approval by the planning board everywhere in town. That means this board reviews every application that comes in on a case-by-case basis. And Charlton's bylaws, as they exist right now, is one of the most comprehensive and well-crafted bylaws on the subject. All questions regarding any solar project that comes before this town are hashed out, dissected, and analyzed by this board through that site plan process. And I've been before the board on other matters, and I've witnessed this board analyze and handle solar project applications. And I've witnessed the work that this board puts in. These projects have not, that I've seen, been rubber stamped by the board. They're carefully scrutinized, they are dissected well by the board, and the board does a very good job. Al Gordon and this board did heroic work when you crafted the zoning bylaw that's in place now. There are dozens of criteria contained in the bylaw. It's pages and pages long, with pages and pages of process and considerations, and they're all spelled out. Every application is reviewed by almost every town department: fire, police, board of health, building inspector, conservation commission, you name it, all boards have an input into these projects. Not only do they have a say in it, but their projects are all independently reviewed by a town independent peer review, engineers, at the applicant's expense. So I asked the board, what procedures, what new procedures would you put in place? What changes would you make? When you answer that question, know that you can't just put a blanket restriction or prohibition against solar, because that violates Section 3. So we turn to see why solar is a priority. And solar is a priority for a number of reasons. First, solar is good. It's good for the town financially. It generates huge tax dollars without increasing any demand on municipal services. And unlike residential, solar brings in no children to the town, which would increase school budgets. There's no need to build new schools, there's no need to hire new teachers, there's no need to pay for busing. And unlike commercial and retail uses, it generates no demand on police and fire. It generates no new traffic and no demand on DPW. There are no streets to be plowed or sanded, there's no streets to be repaved, there are no streetlights to pay for. As to real estate taxes, solar takes the property, most properties, out of chapter status. Better yet, not only does it return the properties to the tax rolls unabated, where the solar panels are actually in place, those properties can be taxed at a commercial rate if the town adopts one. So instead of getting next to nothing for chapter land, the town gets to assess that solar project at the full commercial rate. Better yet, solar produces huge personal property taxes that are associated with the panels and the installation. Those taxes generated over $10,000 per year per megawatt. A 5 megawatt system pays over $50,000 in real estate taxes. 20 megawatt systems, or 20 megawatts, produce more tax revenue to the town than 40 or 50 houses. And that money is free money because it carries no increased demand on municipal services. And when towns are faced with Proposition 2.5 overrides, which Charlton recently faced, solar promises an option, promises to be part of the solution. Not only is solar good for the town, it's good for America. We all claim to be somewhat environmentally sensitive. But what lip service do we do when we cry about global warming and our carbon footprint, and we won't support clean, renewable energy in our communities? Every year we celebrate Earth Day. We teach our children about responsible stewardship, and then we won't support solar in our own towns? And this energy is not just renewable and clean, it's domestic. And every single watt we get from a solar project is one that we don't have to buy from foreign sources, like oil. There are no greenhouse gases, no emissions, no smoke, no noise, no light, no traffic, no smog. Solar is one of the most benign uses of land, and it is for these reasons that the federal government incentivizes solar. It's for this reason that the Commonwealth has identified solar as a priority use and made it exempt under Section 3. And it is for these reasons that Al Gordon and this board worked heroically to craft one of the best bylaws that I've come across with these projects. Not only is solar good environmentally, and not only is it good financially, it also helps to improve the grid. The aging grid infrastructure needs a lot of work, and too often that work is ignored by the utility companies. However, when solar projects are proposed, the entire interconnection grid is reviewed and studied. And in order to accept the energy that's produced by these projects, that grid has to be upgraded. So lines get replaced, substations get improved and upgraded, and it results in fewer blackouts, fewer outages, and fewer overloads. It's a win-win-win. Moreover, solar is temporary. Ultimately, it's a temporary use. These projects have a limited life, 40 years. And the decommissioning of those projects is planned from the very beginning. This town plans them from the very beginning. When decommissioned, these projects, the land where these projects are returned to their natural state. And decommissioned monies are set aside from day one to guarantee that result. The fact is that Charlton will have more open space in 40 years than it does now because of solar. So if you're concerned about open space, solar guarantees it. Fifth, and this is an issue that's very dear to me, so we should not lose sight of the property owners, because the free, productive, and responsible use of the land should be a priority. This proposal eliminates one very real option to property owners. If these parcels are not, if solar is not available to these parcels, and residential is the only option, then the trees are cut down, the earth is reshaped, the ground is regraded, the roads are built, the houses are built, and that land where those houses are permanently and irrevocably altered. The current bylaw gives a sound, second, responsible land use option to a responsible landowner who has a different vision for the future. Charlton has a long history of protecting land use rights. It was one of the last towns, if not the last town, to actually adopt zoning. But zoning, and that's not because Charlton was lazy, all right? It was because Charlton had a fundamental belief that property owners should be able to use their land responsibly as they saw fit. And zoning is in place in town, but that philosophical history is not gone and it's not lost. Responsible land use by responsible land use landowners. That's what Charlton stands for, that's what Charlton stood for. The moratorium would end that option for them. Finally, I'd suggest to the board there is no crisis. All right, this board is not so overwhelmed that they can't do their job. They're doing their job well, I've seen it firsthand. The reviews are being done competently and completely consistent with the bylaw. And because there is no crisis, do the study first before you shut it down. If this bylaw needs tweaking, then tweak it. But don't shut down the town while you do that, while you seek to see if there's something to tweak. The state, Massachusetts, is just opening up a new program. They've been working on it for over a year, and they're gonna roll it out on June 1st. It's called a SMART program. This program, this moratorium, will shut Charlton out of that equation. And just when the state is rolling out a program that's very beneficial, this town would be closed to it. And the property owners who look for an option to use their land would be foreclosed from being able to use their land as they see fit. Those who want to keep their land for their future generations and return it to them in 40 years so that they can use it undeveloped and unimproved will not be able to do that if solar is removed from them. Keep the option open to them, so they don't have to decide to do a residential subdivision or a 40B project or some, whatever other project that they might decide, choose under zoning that would be available. Charlton risks closing the door on a valuable state program just when it's getting off the ground. If Charlton's bylaw is broken, and nobody knows that better than this board, then fix it. If it's not broken, don't mess with it. But whatever the case, don't harm your property owners while you search for something that may or may not, a problem that may or may not exist. And therefore, I'd request, on behalf of my clients, that this board recommend not to support the petitions before the town meeting in May. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Norman Dugas, H. Putnam Road Extension. Article 3, as the gentleman said, it's fine. We're not asking to eliminate the solar fields. All we're doing is asking you to sit back for a year and just weigh the options. That's all we're looking for is a year. Just cool down. We got solar fields coming in everywhere. There's, he says we have the best zoning against it. Well, I don't know. I got a solar field up the road from me. They clear cut all the woods and built right next to the road. And then they plant arborvitaes that have grown nothing in a year. So, I mean, I'm not asking to do away with the solar fields. I'm just asking, sit back, take a deep breath, and let's look at the situation, the whole picture, and then come back. And that's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Norm.
Madam Chairman, members of the planning board, my name is Ron Charetta, I live at 205 Brookfield Road. This is not a debate for or against solar. Listening to the proponents of this is, they're asking for more tools to be put in your toolbox as our planning board. That's what they're asking for, a committee of our fellow townsmen and women to come together, look at this issue and say, are there things we need to do or should do? And if the counselor is correct, that we have a very strong and wonderful bylaw on this, that's terrific, and we should pat ourselves on the back. But maybe it could be made better. Maybe there are areas we haven't thought about. So you put this in the hands of our citizens. You know, we have a great town. We have a great government in our town, a process called town meeting. This is going to town meeting, and we're asking our fellow citizens to think about it and make a recommendation. Does it make sense? If we're so strong, can we get stronger? If we're so good, can we get better? And I think that's what they're asking for. I did not hear the proponents when they were before the selectmen or tonight saying they were against solar. What they were looking for is ways to strengthen your tools as our planning board when these projects come before you, to give you more options, to give you more opportunities to grow the town in a continually good way. That's what they're asking for. Nobody is talking about shutting down solar or keeping businesses that are in the solar industry out of Charlton. They're asking for an opportunity to take a year, study it very carefully, put it in the hands of our fellow citizens and taxpayers of this community, and come back to you with a recommendation that potentially could add valuable additional skills to you as our town planners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Ron Sherman. I'm a property owner in Charlton. I bought a piece of land,
Address?
6 Gillespie Road. I bought a piece of land in Charlton that's kind of an eyesore in this town, the old Mondo's Cafe. I did buy it with the intention of putting up a solar farm in the back because there's already one there that nobody can see from the road. Most people probably don't even know it's there. I agree with everybody said here. There's nobody that's against solar and energy. My question, and I agree with this guy, if there is something, why can't it be studied without the moratorium? Because it's not like these happen overnight. Only so many are gonna happen in that study period. And even after the study period ended, those are still gonna happen. There's just gonna be new bylaws that they're gonna have to abide by. So it's not really gonna stop anything. So to me, with the new program starting June 1st, and my understanding that Connecticut's gonna start a program, and you're close to Woodstock and Pomfret and all those areas that have a lot of land that are gonna produce mass amounts of energy, there's only a chance that you're gonna hurt the people of Charlton, you know, as far as taxes. Because, let's be honest, National Grid isn't gonna care where they're getting their energy from. The solar companies aren't gonna care where they're getting their money from. You know, they're not. They're gonna just go wherever it is, whether it's Charlton or somewhere else. And I agree, the study, you know, if you feel the study should happen, I agree it should happen. But to me, I'm not so sure there's a moratorium needed to do that study when these projects don't happen overnight, and how many are gonna happen between now and when that study's finished. So that's why I would recommend that, you know, you don't recommend that it be voted on, and just do the study, and it's gonna happen one way or the other, and most likely it's only gonna be 6 months or so that the study's gonna come in. You're gonna make the changes no matter what it is, and how many projects I've gone through. And the ones that didn't go through, you're only gonna go through later on. So you're just gonna create a backlog. So to me, the study's good, maybe changing the bylaws may be good. Well, like this gentleman said, I don't really know the bylaws of the town, maybe they are strong enough. But whatever it is, I don't think the moratorium adds anything to it. I think it just probably puts you on hold, and you lose revenue, and you lose projects that might go somewhere else. That may or may not happen, but to me, you can do the study without the moratorium, and nobody gets harmed either way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Degnan, Osgood Road. This new SMART program, what they're talking about, I've started reading it. The good thing that's going to happen is everyone used to, solar was all the same. Everyone got paid the same incentives. Now they're doing subtracting and adding. So if you're a firm that comes in and clear cuts, your dollar amounts get subtracted. If you're a firm that puts it on a landfill or on a parking garage, you get added in. So just be aware of this big deadline isn't going to mean the end of any projects. It's just going to mean a different calculation for what they get paid. So keep that in mind. And then for those that. I'm having trouble with the Ross.
Serious.
And for the gentleman that said there are already guidelines in, as you know, we were just at a meeting where a farmer had 145 acres. And the abutters were merely asking for 150 feet on the one side that abuts the residential. And they weren't willing to budge. So we need these guidelines because these companies that have such good relationships with us didn't want to shift any panels on that 145 acres. So that project had a 10-foot buffer zone. We got a fence, but a 10-foot buffer zone. So that's why we need rules. Some people don't play nice.
Just one quick question.
Again, Karen Spiewak, Osgood Road. So I'm a little confused because I've heard different messages from people regarding the arrays that are already in existence. If or when new guidelines are implemented, I'm going to be positive, will that affect them or are they grandfathered in? Because I thought, I was hearing that if they were established or even in the pipeline, it wasn't going to affect them. I'm looking for you for clarity because, you know, there's the mixed messages out there.
Well, any existing array would be grandfathered in under the old zoning.
Okay.
Any project that has a building permit prior to the publication of the notice would be grandfathered in under the old regulations.
Okay, so,
And then any project that gets protection by filing a plan would be grandfathered in under the old regulations.
okay. And I think to answer the question, well, why don't we just, you know, create the guidelines but not stop anything or take a temporary timeout, open the floodgates, right? You all know that. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Do I?
I think if you can continue the hearing to another night if you want to, or you can close the hearing if you're satisfied that people have had a
I
chance
do have
to.
a question now before you close the hearing.
Okay.
Bill, perhaps. We've heard about this June 1st date. Are you aware of what that is exactly? And what we were hearing tonight, is that correct?
I'm not
The
sure
smart-
what's June
that new
1st.
smart-
The SMART thing.
That wouldn't affect the town's zoning bylaws.
But will it affect how if we have a project in the pipeline, and we say, okay, because you're already in the pipeline, we're gonna let you go through regardless of the moratorium, are they gonna get paid differently than a project that has to wait a year and come in after the moratorium?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. So the only thing for this new SMART thing is how they get their money and what percentage and.
Right.
Okay, so it
Right,
has.
yes.
And if we have something in process and they're just waiting on a decision, waiting on us, is there something that we can do to kind of exempt? I think that, just
Exactly.
because if they're waiting on our admin piece,
Yeah, that doesn't affect their ability to go forward.
But will they be able to grandfather in, because we've had 3 cancellations, because we've pushed a lot of these projects out further than they normally would be at this point? Could we grandfather in some of the projects that are in flux right now, as opposed to, or is this an all or nothing?
Well, if somebody has a building permit prior to the publication of the notice, they're grandfathered in. And if somebody wants to gain protection, they can file a plan under state law, under various provisions available to them.
Okay.
So that they would get grandfathered in under the old zoning if they follow that proper procedure.
So speaking just specifically to the Brookfield Road project that you brought up, if we, and I'm sure Kurt's gonna speak to this too, but if we can't get him the building permit in time, if things just aren't quick enough, because again, we've had a lot of cancellations, is there something we can do to protect him?
The time passed though, because it's already been
He
advertising the
doesn't have a
paper.
building permit yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, we won't, there's nothing that we can do about that?
Well, there's something the landowner can do about that.
can file a plan.
He can file a plan.
Just have to file a plan with our office.
Right.
Okay.
Those are the options.
Do we want to close, or?
Wait, I think that Kurt has something to add.
That's basically what I was gonna say,
Okay.
is that these are very astute people. They should consult a good land use lawyer.
Yep.
And there are avenues available to them.
Okay.
And if they execute them properly, it protects their rights.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we close the hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we should open the next hearing then?
Do we have to vote?
Yeah, we gotta vote to whether or not
We
we
can vote
support
now,
it.
or you can, if you're ready to vote, you can do so. Sure.
Let's try a vote.
Who wants to make a motion? Do
So
I
you
make a
have two
motion?
articles.
So are we going to make a motion to support the selectmen's version of the moratorium on solar?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Anybody oppose?
And the other, the citizens petitions?
Make a
Do you-
motion that we do not support that.
Because they said that if we, correct,
They
so
will
I
table
second
it.
that, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So
Okay.
we're supporting the fact that this will go to town to be voted on
The town meeting.
at the town meeting.
But we are supporting the selectmen's version of
And-
the moratorium.
I believe Debbie has a
It's
question.
a good idea to have the townspeople vote on what they want.
How many in favor, any opposed? Were there any opposed?
All in favor, none
All in favor.
opposed. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next hearing.
If you are here for marijuana, and marijuana zoning, please sign.
I'm gonna stick around here to talk. Yeah. let's stick.
It makes sense to let the town vote on it.
Yeah, it's not, we support the moratorium. I'm not saying I don't support it.
And you know what, it's going to town meeting anyway, so if people don't want it, they'll vote it
They
down.
have their vote.
Exactly. They have the right to say no. Right. We just got it onto the warrant, that's all.
Exactly. That's what she did. And when we did too. Okay, okay.
All right, can we just kind of move the talking out so we can get on? Okay.
Being 7:30. Go ahead, go for it.
Being 7:30, pursuant to MGL Chapter 48, Section 5, the Charlton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 25th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room on a proposal to amend the Charlton zoning bylaw by adopting zoning regulations to permit retail sale of marijuana, marijuana cultivators, and other marijuana establishments by special permit in various zoning districts of the town. Do you want to do a presentation?
Sure. This is a planning board sponsored article. As the state now has a marijuana statute. It was initially proposed as a citizen's petition in the as a ballot question in the state election of 2016. And the residents of Charlton supported that article, that question 4 on the ballot to legalize marijuana. This bylaw then is an attempt to regulate marijuana establishments in the town. As you can see, it establishes various uses under state law that the town can regulate, and different districts where marijuana establishments, are allowed. So, for retail sale, for example, we're proposing to allow retail sale of marijuana in the community business, the industrial general, and the Business Enterprise Park districts by special permit. The independent testing laboratories would be allowed by special permit in IG and BEP. Marijuana product manufacturer would be allowed by special permit in the agricultural district, with footnote 1, which says that a marijuana product manufacturer is allowed by special permit in the agricultural district only if combined with an indoor marijuana cultivator. And marijuana product manufacturing would also be allowed in IG and BEP. Indoor cultivation would be allowed in the agricultural district by special permit, with footnote 2 saying that there would have to be at least 10 acres of land size for that to be allowed, and then by special permit in IG and BEP. Outdoor cultivation would not be permitted. Social consumption establishments also would not be permitted throughout the town. Medical marijuana treatment centers are considered a separate use under the state law. So if a medical marijuana treatment center was proposed without retail dispensing, that would be allowed in the agricultural district by special permit and in CBIG and BEP. If a medical marijuana center was proposed with retail dispensing, it would not be allowed in the agricultural district, but would be permitted in CBIG and BEP. And then a third-party marijuana transporter would be allowed in CBIG and BEP. So what we have done here is we've required any marijuana use to require a special permit from the planning board, which means that this is a discretionary approval from the board. It requires a supermajority vote, which means 4 out of 5 members would have to vote in favor of the use for it to be allowed. And the board has the authority to deny the use if it would have negative impacts on the town. The state law says that if a town wanted to exclude marijuana establishments entirely from the town, the process varies with whether the town supported question 4 in the referendum or not. If the town voters were in favor of excluding or prohibiting marijuana in their community, then the town meeting can simply adopt a bylaw to do that. However, since Charlton, the majority of residents supported legalization on question 4, the manner of excluding it would require going back to another ballot vote with a bylaw that would exclude marijuana establishments and a town meeting bylaw, so that would require a 2-vote process. So since the community voted in favor of it on the ballot, the planning board felt that town meeting should have a chance to adopt a bylaw that would regulate where these facilities can go and what standards they would have to comply with. So the rest of the proposal then are primarily regulations which dictate how these facilities would be governed in the town. Under 5.20A, they would have to comply not only with this bylaw, but also with the state law, the regulations of the Cannabis Control Commission, and the regulations of the Board of Health. As you may know, the town has created a marijuana committee to work on this issue, and the Board of Health has proposed regulations that are primarily health-oriented to govern these establishments. So not only would the town bylaw and regulations govern it, but also the state regulations would have a major impact on how these are run. Under B, the planning board could approve a special permit for up to 3 medical marijuana retail dispensing sites, and under C, up to 3 retail marijuana retail establishments. The reason for the number of 3 is that the state law says you can't restrict more than 20% the number of licenses issued in the town for the retail sale of alcoholic beverages, and that number would be 2, so the town couldn't go less than 2. The planning board felt that 3 was a reasonable number, given the interest in the community and the positive fiscal impacts that these would have on the community. But once that number 3 is reached, no more would be permitted in the town. We have some additional site plan requirements. D1 requires a detailed security plan to be reviewed by the police chief. D2 would require some rendering, some elevations of the proposed building so that the board could have a sense of what this would look like and the impact it would have on the neighborhood. Under E, state law requires a host community agreement and impact fee with the Board of Selectmen. The Selectmen have gotten a couple of proposals for these already, and there are some favorable financial terms to the town. In the agricultural district, buildings for indoor cultivation would have to be set back 100 feet from the property line. Under G, special permits would be limited to the original applicants, and then would expire if there's a transfer, so a new applicant would have to reapply for the special permit. They could not be open between the hours of 8 PM and 8 AM. Under I, requires measures to limit odors, things of that sort that might have a negative impact on the neighborhood. J specifies that they would have to be at least 1,000 feet from any other adult use establishment, such as an adult bookstore or adult movie theater. Town has only limited areas where those would be permitted, and this is to prevent concentration of these kinds of uses in one location. And then under K, there are some new special permit conditions proposed here to give the planning board the authority to deny projects if they don't conform to these standards. So K1 is a lighting standard. K2 addresses vehicular and pedestrian traffic and parking and circulation. K3 has conditions related to the design of the facility. 4 is more of to ensure that there's adequate security and alarm systems. And 5 is to limit signage so that it doesn't have a negative impact on the neighborhood or encourage children to come and participate in these activities. And then there are some definitions: a marijuana establishment and a medical marijuana treatment center. These are taken from the state cannabis control regulations, which were promulgated in March, just as a point of reference, so that these refer back to the table of uses and would provide an understanding of what each of those activities would be allowed to do. So, so that's a brief summary of the bylaw.
All right, thank you.
Comments or questions from the board?
I just have one comment, and that is the same as what we just went through with the other one, that this will be at town meeting. The people of the town will be voting on this. Whether we support it tonight or not is immaterial as to what can happen at town meeting. I just wanted to make that statement.
And
Thank
to
you.
make, yeah, and to make another comment exactly to that, by us supporting this bylaw amendment, by you supporting this bylaw amendment at town meeting, you're supporting zoning marijuana facilities. You are not supporting or denying marijuana. Marijuana has already been approved by the town of Charlton. What you are saying is you're going to regulate where it gets to go. So it doesn't get to go at your neighbor's house, it gets to go in these specific zoning areas. And the zoning map is always available in the planning board office, but by supporting the zoning bylaw, you are stating you are going to control where the cannabis goes, not that you're going to allow cannabis. Just a clarification.
And the board did a lot of work to
Yes.
really put some common sense into the layout of where things should go, as fair and that common
Absolutely.
sense work
Yes.
that, with us on the board, that's, so, any questions from the audience, comments?
Please come up and state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Mark Warren on 68 Brookfield Road. And I just had a question about how many requests have come across to the town regarding these types of facilities?
Which
We,
types?
well, we have 3 being proposed at the moment.
For recreational?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one existing
Right.
medical dispensary, which is probably gonna come in and request to become both a medical and a retail.
Mhm.
And then there were two others that have been floated that we're aware of,
Are they all by the same company, or are they all different?
all different.
Okay. The other thing I thought I don't know if this is open to suggestion, this is the only thing, but under K, when you have special permit conditions, I know that when the medical facility was put in, one of the things they mentioned was that they weren't going to keep any product on site. That they were gonna close up, they won't have any cash there, they won't have any product, and that would be.
Overnight.
Yeah, overnight.
Correct.
Exactly. So it might be something that you might add as another special condition as well. I don't know if that's possible as recreational.
During town meeting, it would be possible. You could.
Oh, you could
open-
suggest it then?
Yes, during town
Absolutely.
meeting.
I didn't know who made the bylaws or.
Also,
proposed.
also since it'd be during the public hearing for any applicant, a special permit, we could restrict that, because.
Part of the special.
Well, that's why I
Part
wanted
of
to say,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
special conditions, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think it would be important, because it might be an incentive to, induce crime.
Oh, absolutely.
Knowing there's a bunch of that there. All right, that's all I had, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Is there any proposed manufacturing or?
Three.
Well, they're sort of processing as opposed to like manufacturing, I think.
Good evening. Hi.
Good evening.
My name is George Bell. I am operate a business in Charlton, parts distribution business. I'm a property owner and in the industrial zone, and I just wanted to offer a comment to support the amendment that would, in my mind, allow the planning board to control and allow no more than 3 retail establishments. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm not a resident. You said there were 3 proposals mentioned to the board. Obviously, one is health-wise. Who are the other 2?
I don't think.
We can't
I don't think
disclose
we're allowed
that.
to say.
Disclose that yet.
Have they made any public application, or have they filed anything with your office? It's only been by conversation?
I believe they've talked to the selectmen. I don't know whether that's public information or not. Kurt, do you know if that's public at this point?
I think there's negotiations going on, and to what level they're public records, I have no idea.
Right, so I guess, I'm not sure, so I'd rather not say.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Anybody else?
I just have one other question.
Okay, absolutely.
If this is not passed, doesn't go through, does that mean that you're not limited on the number of facilities?
Yes, I believe that's the case. So if this doesn't pass, the existing zoning regulations would come back into play.
And there isn't much.
And
And there isn't, no.
there's no limit on the number of retail dispensaries, for example.
But the existing zoning regulations don't specify in the commercial business area that you can even get a retail marijuana, or do they?
Well, the building commissioner has made a determination that these are retail uses, similar to a pharmacy,
Okay.
so that they have the same characteristics as other retail uses and therefore would be allowed as a retail use under the current bylaw.
As a pharmacy.
Like, similar to a pharmacy, correct?
Retail establishment.
And other retail stores.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not gonna say if he's satisfied, I'm not gonna say.
Oh, okay. Well, you said that.
No.
He
Courtesy
was just
zoning
being
enforcement
very
officer.
prepared, very prepared, like a
No,
Boy
that's
Scout.
fine. I just wanted to-
Could you summarize what was just concluded here, because I didn't get that.
Sure. The conclusion is that this bylaw gives the town control over where they can go and how many would come into town.
Yeah.
And without this bylaw, it is our belief that existing zoning would govern where these can go. There is no limit on the number of retail establishments in town, for example, and there's no limit on the number of cultivation sites that could come into town. So essentially, under existing zoning, they could come in unimpeded.
Okay.
So to put it simply, a yes vote controls it, a no vote lets it go wherever.
Okay, that clarifies it, thank you.
Okay, sure.
I have a question.
Frank Lombardi, 20 Prindle Hill Road. I know this doesn't have to do with the proposed bylaw amendment, but you did mention it, and I just wanted to clarify for myself, I guess. The requirement is that the town has to have no less than two. The selectmen would set how many, is that retail, retail shops or marijuana establishments as you've defined under the planning? So does that limit it to cultivation? Does it mean 3 retail, no less than 2 retail, and as many cultivation facilities? How is that?
So under the state law,
Yeah.
you can limit the number of marijuana establishments, which include all the kinds of uses that are listed in the table.
Right.
So we've gone, in this bylaw, we said you could have no more than 3 retail establishments, either medical and 3 retail recreational.
Okay.
But it doesn't limit the number of cultivation sites or
Manufacturing
processing,
sites.
right.
So that would be unlimited, under the state law.
No, under the town bylaw.
So the town could limit the number of cultivation sites
It
and
could.
manufacturing sites as well.
Yes, right.
But that's not included in this
Right.
right now.
But, so the bylaw specifies the districts where they can go in by special permit.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Is that it?
Any more
No further questions
Board? Any
for
questions?
discussion?
No, I'd like to make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we want to make a vote? Take a vote?
Don't we have to make a motion on the table?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, we support this bylaw.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimously passes, yes.
Unanimously passed. Thank you. Okay. And we're only 4 minutes left. We're doing good.
All right, if anyone is here, over here, otherwise known as Central City.
Okay, this one's gonna be this one's gonna be
Don't let me, we can make sure
I
that.
just wanted to clarify, because a lot of people have been calling me saying, so what does this mean? Does yes mean no? Does no mean yes? I'm like, I'm telling you right now, you vote no, you're voting no. There's no need-
clearly as anyone could.
Being 8 o'clock, pursuant to MGL 40A, Section 5, the Charlton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 18th, in the seniors, on Main Street in Charlton, Mass, on the petition of landowners Iris Jennings and Gare LLC to amend the Charlton zoning map by rezoning approximately 210 acres from agricultural A to community business CB. The area is located on the southerly side of Brookfield Road and includes 10 parcels which are listed on the Charlton Assessors maps as parcels 15-B-9, .18. Did I read all of these?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
15-B-6, 15-B-5, 15-B-4, 15-B-4.1, 15-B 4.2, 29-A9, 29-A8, 29-A6, and 29-A3. Would you like to make your presentation, please?
Very good. Thank you for having us this evening. I'm Russell Jennings. With me this evening is my attorney, Donald O'Neill, who can answer any zoning-related questions on topic to zoning matters. And presented to the audience and your board is the map, which depicts the property. I have a brief statement I'd like to read, and then answer any questions you might have. I come before the planning board tonight to present you with a petition to rezone my family's property from agricultural to community business. I'm asking the planning board to vote in support of the article. The property I'm referring to consists of 10 parcels that make up roughly 210 acres on the southerly side. Can you hear this? Okay. Southerly side of Brookfield Road. You can see on the map that it's quite a bit of property, especially when you compare it to other parcels that have been rezoned in town. My family has owned the property since the 1960s prior to zoning. It's existed mostly as forested land. About 3 years ago, we put in motion our plans to develop it out for outdoor recreation. Our intentions for the property have never been a secret. Let me be clear. We intend to use the property for sports, entertainment, and recreation. We've gone through the proper channels and have been held to a standard high above the norm. The project is first of its kind, and for better or worse, has many gray areas that no one has answers to. Rezoning resolves much of the confusion. As much as I'd like to go into the details, we are currently in litigation and cannot discuss the matter. I respectfully request that the comments tonight remain on topic about the planning board's support of the article to rezone the property, which is a right of any landowner, and not about 508 International. I'll end on this note. The Charlton Master Plan states that the economic development of Charlton is to increase allowed use in Charlton to facilitate business growth and increase the business tax base to comprise a greater percentage of Charlton's tax base. And the open space and recreation goal of Charlton is to expand opportunities for passive and active recreation. The spirit of what we're looking to do is just that. Rezoning the properties contributes greatly to both town-wide goals. Thank you.
Board comments?
Does the attorney?
You want to
Did
see
you
the
wa-
proposal first? Have you understood it? That's
Yeah, that's
all?
it. That's it. You should have it.
And you should all have it in your handouts.
Does the
So-
attorney, do you want to speak first? I'm sorry that I.
No, only if there are questions, you know.
Okay, thank you.
So through the chair, what I'd say is the town is looking for us to give them some guidance on whether this is a good thing for the town. One of the litmus tests I use for rezoning is it a benefit to the town as a whole? Is it detrimental to the neighborhood as in its entirety? And what exactly is that value? And is it needed in the town at this point? And I'm not sure that this plan passes that. I don't think it falls in with what the master plan had stated where the developments should be. And I haven't heard much about the proposal other than that. And once we rezone it, the cat is out of the bag, and there's a wide variety of things that could go into that land. And I don't know, we should probably listen to people of the town to see how they feel about it and whether it will be a benefit to them.
Through the chair, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, point you, go ahead.
Can I ask a question to, do you have?
Um, Through the chair, if I might, could I have an opportunity to address statements or questions that come up, such as what Mr. Clay just stated?
Yes, I just
prior
wanna
to
add
moving
on
on
to
to?
Mr. Clay.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely.
excellent, thank you, sorry.
No, and I asked directly to you, as a matter of fact. Do you have any ideas, any thoughts on bufferings, on how much land you're going to put in between, and I'm phrasing this very poorly, but how much land you're going to put in between any of your proposals and the existing landowners? Do you have any ideas right now? And we're not going to hold you to anything per se, but can you give us an idea of just where you're proposing some, obviously you want to change the zoning, because you want to use it. You want to help the town. You want to give things to the town by putting in some sort of activity zone. Awesome. but can you give us an idea, if you have one, of what you're thinking of where on this map those things might possibly be, just so the abutters who are sitting here have some better idea?
Well, currently what's in place is pretty much the answer. So to the closest abutting house, your properties, your studies all showed, it's about 2,500 feet.
Okay.
That's what's existing now. Not that I want to go into the discussion, like I stated, we're in litigation. Being respectful just on the boundary, currently it's 2,500 feet.
Thank you.
So that's common knowledge. It's out there for everyone to see. It's already been discussed by your board multiple times.
It has, and I know we promised not to talk about 508 International, so I wasn't sure if that was changing in any way, and I just wanted, again, to have it said out loud that that was still a plan. Thank you.
And now, if I could,
Yes,
to
please.
Mr. Clay's comment. I'd really, I oftentimes hear the words, "It's not in the spirit of the master plan." And I think the term is loosely used. And I'm not saying that you yourself are this evening, but, and as with anyone, I always welcome the opportunity to have the discussion about such things as the master plan and how it relates to our property and my projects. And if there's something specifically in the master plan that would specifically talk about not allowing open recreation, private recreation, anything to do with sports and entertainment, I would love to be guided to see where it states that, because when I read the master plan, it specifically states the opposite. And if you go into the lately published 2017 OSRP, I don't know if everyone's familiar with that document, Open Space and Recreation Plan. It specifically talks about the project and needing to protect more areas like that so that there is public recreation for people. So I do believe it fits directly with the master plan.
Is this a public recreation project?
Yes.
Or is this a recreational business?
Both.
It becomes it's a business.
Absolutely.
It's not an open space, free recreation park for the enjoyment of the whole community.
Currently, no, but that's still included in the master plan and the open space recreation plan. Private is considered part of that plan, and that's the updated plan as of 2017. So, and I'd, like I say, be more than willing to share those pages with you and have the discussion at some point in time.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, if I could follow up just with an observation in terms of, we are talking about over 200 acres. Certainly, a permitted use would be residential development of the property. As everyone, I think, realizes, additional houses come with considerable costs to the town. And if you were to look at a build-out of this property as a residential development, there would be all sorts of costs associated with that. There would also be all sorts of traffic and, all these issues that would naturally flow from any development. But the alternative to this type of proposal, if you're just looking and thinking that that alternative is more houses, a greater residential development, I think if you look at the tax base to the town, that's all negative. It's unfortunate, but basically if you have a couple of kids per house and the cost of education to the schools, you don't get the tax revenue from an individual house that would support any of that. And what we're talking or proposing to do is basically add to the commercial tax base. We're talking about community business, which is a limited business use. It's not straight business. And basically, our intent and focus is for, as we say, the recreational use of the property, and leaving quite a bit of it, most of it, undeveloped and, you know, available for passive benefit of the surrounding properties. And we certainly have enough land there so that, as we've demonstrated, I think, through some of the testing that was done in connection with the site plan approval process, that there really is quite a bit of natural buffering that is present on the site. And we do feel that these are the types of uses which would benefit not only the residents, but others as well, and could in fact be a positive in terms of contributing to the revenue of the town, which is something that could probably be beneficial to everybody, both the property owner and the town.
I'd like to mention that this is the same thing like the other two hearings that we had tonight, that this is not going to be decided here. This will be a town meeting. The townspeople will get to vote on this. With or without our support, you can vote. And, you know, if you have some statements to make that are more appropriate at town meeting, then they should be heard at town meeting. But we welcome anybody from the public that would like to make a comment.
Addressing that comment, tonight, I would ask your board to deviate maybe a little bit from the path you have taken earlier this evening and with some other public hearings. I would ask that you not vote on support or not to support this evening until I can get you more information by way of the EDC, who we have a meeting with coming up, and also Recreation. That way you may have further information to make your decision. I know that in the past you have deferred your decision to vote on other projects, and maybe this will help you, help your decision, or not. But I'd like to offer that up as additional information that will be coming forth to your board.
Thank you. Bill, does the timing make a difference?
I was just gonna
Can-
ask that.
does-
You can continue the hearing, sure.
And as long as we vote before town,
Right.
then we're good.
Anytime, or does it have to be the 21 days before town meeting?
That only applies if you don't make a recommendation.
So then we'll have to vote either way.
But even if we don't make a recommendation, it's still on the town warrant, isn't it? No.
You have to have 21 days have to pass without a recommendation.
Okay, okay. But we can have a continuance tonight,
Yes.
honor his wishes, and then we can
Well-
gather.
And then we have to vote either way.
You can close the public hearing this evening. We're not going to be putting forth additional information ourselves. Other town boards would.
Right.
So public hearing could be
Well,
closed this evening.
Well, I think it would be public testimony, though, if we hear from other town boards.
Would it?
Yes.
I think so. So the public has to have a chance to comment on the
Okay.
information the board hears.
Well, I don't want to mess with the process that's
Right.
already been put in place, so
But we can certainly continue it.
Yeah,
we
if
think
if
more
it's going to
information
affect the
coming.
process, I would definitely ask not to continue it. If it's not going to affect the process, I'd be more than willing to continue it until you get that
I'd be happy to
information.
continue and get more as you go through other boards.
More
At the
information.
next, bring it in and present it, because it just makes sense to make a decision being fully informed.
I completely agree. I sit on the EDC, and I'll be happy to, after you come before us, I can then present to the board any information that comes forth.
Sure.
I make a motion to continue the
Well,
public hearing. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know.
No.
Still want to take some more comments.
Oh, I apologize.
Do we have comments from the public?
I see that it's a full house, and I would ask one slight additional comment. Just, I know you guys are pressed for time, as everyone is. If we could give Charlton residents an opportunity to speak first, and then if there's additional time left over, if people from other towns are around that wish to have something to say, maybe they could follow suit.
I would support that.
Thank you.
Do we have a Charlton residents that would like to comment? Yes. Name and address, please.
My name's Brian Curran. I live at 1 Sydney Circle. I've been in town about 3 years now, and just a concerned citizen about what this may lead to. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I had a prepared statement about the community development plan and the bylaws and how this might affect all this. It isn't Mr. Jennings hasn't given us a lot of information, but based on the past, I just want to read a little statement and then just make a few comments if I could. This rezoning change is inconsistent with the Charlton Community Development Plan and the Charlton bylaws. Throughout these documents, it is clearly stated this change will violate the Charlton district intents, uses in Charlton bylaws. According to Charlton's zoning map and the town assessor's office, there are currently 32 properties that are zoned for community business. Every one of those are located on Route 20 and 169, okay? These corridors are designed to absorb the increase in traffic and complementary to surrounding commercial and industrial properties. Businesses are purposely segregated from residential areas to reduce potential negative impacts to abutting lands. As stated in Charlton's Community Development Plan, such industries shall be abutter-friendly, that is, they shall impact abutting lands minimally as to sight, sound, odor, and traffic. Overarching goals: to maintain the rural character of the town. Land use element: take advantage of regional market and public investments in transportation, sewer and water systems by locating with careful site planning, high-value industrial, regional, office, and commercial development along Route 20 in certain areas of Route 169, certain areas of 31. Then it goes on, page, Charlton Community Development Plan, locate business development will serve different market opportunities and ways to maximize benefits while minimizing negative impacts. To the maximum extent possible, properties in this district should avoid the appearance of commercial strip plazas and adverse impacts on street and ways. Then it talks about, Brookfield Road, which is what I live off Brookfield Road. It's a narrow, winding road that invites accidents. There's hardly a level, straight area more than 100 yards. Adding a business district, community business district to this roadway of residential housing would be a poor decision to diminish the rural character that neighborhoods currently enjoy. It's a very busy street now. It's commuting in the morning and at night. We really want to make this an extension of Route 20, potentially with community business of any type. Now, the one thing, I don't want to say this is factual, but we live in the age of Facebook. And one of the events that I believe might be proposed down the road had over 300,000.
Can we stay on topic, please?
Excuse me?
I just ask that you remain on topic.
Okay. All I'm trying to make is the potential traffic, okay, before you make such an important decision. The restrictions in the Charlton Community Development Plan, Charlton bylaws provide assurances that uniform zoning takes precedence, provides protection to the residents of Charlton. If we ignore these protections, the peace and tranquility of our residential neighborhood would be destroyed. And basically, I'm in favor of expanding business for the town. I'd like to see my taxes reduced by more taxable income, and such as Route 20 and the Treehouse Brewery, where it makes sense. But the question is, do we want to allow business? And by opening up the community business, it allows contractors of all types to potentially bypass site plans and take some of the power out of your hands to regulate, according to what I have, my research. If we allow this in this particular parcel, I mean, I think as reasonable neighbors, our group of people would be willing to work with contractors for something reasonable, okay? But do we really want to open up this whole idea of community business, which you want another group from Hanson Road speaking to you, another group from Wam Sutter Estates on the other side of town who've suddenly been rezoned to community business? That would be my concern. I don't think that would be beneficial to anybody involved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Bob Brunel. I live on Brookfield Road. I'd like to present you with a few facts on this proposal.
One of the primary responsibilities of the Charlton Planning Board is to protect citizens from situations just like this that would be devastating to the community as a whole. This board has important infrastructure oversight. A rezoning to community business enables the applicant to avoid this oversight. If approved, activities like motorsports will not require building permits or site plan reviews, which are usual triggers for infrastructure oversight and inspections. The applicant's proposal to rezone these parcels also promotes growth without planning. It is being proposed in spite of any professional impact analysis to the surrounding areas. This rezoning off Brookfield Road to a commercial zoning district would set a precedent for other rezoning proposals, potentially leading to the rezoning of other parcels located all around Charlton. The rezoning proposal is inconsistent with the Charlton Community Development Plan prepared by the engineering firm Van Ness, Hangen, and Bristolin, and the Charlton bylaws. Let's not be misled here. The applicant is proposing the rezoning of their land to specifically enable their business, 501 International, to operate a racetrack. The current racetrack on parcel 29A6, which is right up there, it's the actual one up from the bottom. It's classified as R40, which actually prohibits recreational activity for profit. Yet it was built. Rezoning to community business would allow the applicant to operate any and all motorsports activities without planning board oversight. There is ample evidence from last summer's activities and videos that demonstrate the negative impacts on peace and quiet of our residential neighborhoods. On May 7th, 2017, while a motorsports event was run by 501 International, the noise was so bad.
Through the chair.
You made the connection between the planning.
Be respectful to the chair, please. They're asking you to stay on
Just
topic.
because our board meetings have been going till 11 at night, we just want to keep things on subject,
Well,
and it's all about the zoning change.
I only have another minute, right?
Okay.
And this pertains to,
That's not germane to this conversation.
yes, it is, he made it
Absolutely
germane
not.
to this
Who are you to
conversation.
delegate the meeting? Who are you to delegate the meeting? The board is supposed to delegate the meeting, not you, Mr. Jennings. Please be quiet and let the
You'll
gentleman.
have your turn.
Please.
Okay?
You'll have.
Enough.
This problem.
You'll
You
have your
created
turn.
this problem. All the boards need instruction.
I just want to keep the meeting in control.
Last couple of statements, please, all right? When that motorsports event was, and you need to know this.
We do.
Motorsports event was run by 508. The noise was so bad, the Stanley family and fellow neighborhood neighbors at Sydney Circle had to leave their homes and find quiet places, right? There is no buffer that was mentioned earlier. That sound travels and it's extremely annoying.
All right,
Please
thank you.
consider retaining your oversight authority. That's the issue here.
Thank you. We're aware of, we've been living this for a while. We are very, very aware of all the facts that are happening up
Yes.
there, I promise you.
Okay?
And through the chair, may I make a comment?
Please.
In order to keep this meeting from going until midnight tonight, we are well aware of everyone's concerns regarding the noise, regarding the issues
What
of.
about the taxes? What does he pay in the last 3 years? for
Point of
taxes?
order.
Well, I want an opportunity to speak.
You will get it.
I've been suppressed by Mr. Jennings.
What we are asking, politely, we understand your concerns, we do, we have heard them and we continue to hear them. What we are politely asking is that we keep it on track. We are here tonight to support a zoning change. And whether we support or not support, if it makes it to town warrant, it will be up to you, the people, to ultimately have the choice. You will vote. Whether we vote yes or no, it's still going to go, and you get to tell us whether it gets to go or not, because you are the people. You control the town meeting. You will go to town meeting and you will vote it. Tonight, we are simply here to talk about the zone change. So all we're asking, we're not trying to be impolite to either side, we're not trying to not hear your concerns. What we are trying to do politely to both is be respectful of the fact that we are trying to stay on track. That is all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good evening. My name is Bill McMenamy. I live at 250 North Sturbridge Road. With respect to Mr. Jennings and his attorney, and I understand that they made it clearly specific with regarding to the tax burden to the town on these parcels of land. And they've clearly provided their point of view, saying that putting houses on these parcels would create a tax burden to the town with numerous kids on the school system and infrastructure and of that nature. But my question directly asked of Mr. Jennings
No.
or the
Directed
board
to the chair, please.
is, would his current business model, utilizing this land and expanding it with these proposals that are ambiguous and vague and non-specific, exactly what will be the reimbursement and the benefit to the town that will offset the cost and the burden of the homeowners for future generations to the town, and offset the infrastructure that's already in place and reduce their financial responsibility? The police department, the fire,
Sir,
and
that's
the
just,
school
has nothing
system.
to
we're
say.
just getting off topic. That we really don't
If-
have the facts.
And he's
we-
clearly
If I might add,
demonstrated irresponsibility with the town bylaws.
That's
He
not
doesn't
part of
adhere
the
to
zoning.
We just can't, we've
Well, I
already
strongly
had these
object to
meetings
that
before.
comment.
We don't, we just need to, if there's anybody else
If-
have a comment that is going to
If
be
I might
on
address the man's
subject.
comments for
No,
one
I
second?
don't think
No?
it's
We
even,
don't want
I don't
the
think it's
comment.
even
You're not
worth your
gonna
time.
address
If
it.
you want to
Okay.
talk later and discuss.
You know, I get up at 4 in the morning.
Absolutely.
The Mass Pike is 5.2 miles from my house at the shortest distance, and I can hear it. But on the days he's had activities, I can hear those as clear as day, and my wife and kids are complaining constantly. I've been in the town for 20 years, and if the house wasn't paid for, I would up and sell, and this market's good. But the point of living in Charlton is being a worker in Boston and surrounding areas. I understand those areas and the noise related to them, and that's why I selected Charlton and was lucky enough to be eligible to buy a house and live in
I
Charlton.
know, and we all live in Charlton. We all are, we're all here because we care about Charlton, but we just need to keep this particular meeting on subject, and the subject is the zoning change and whether,
The thing is, if he builds houses, you're gonna have responsible individuals that contribute to the society and will pay taxes, and they'll be locked in.
It has nothing to do with
we
the zoning.
have no
Locked
say
in.
in
They
what
come and go.
we have no say in who builds
Through the
what.
chair.
Good comments for the
cannot-
town meeting, though.
Yeah, perfect for the town meeting, please.
Yes.
Really be good.
We can't speculate as to what business he's proposing.
Yeah.
What we're, the
Well,
only
that's
thing
just
we can
it.
talk
It's
about tonight.
ambiguous. He has no specific business model in place.
And that's an
It's
excellent
so
point.
vague, and it was vague 3 years ago, and it's even more vague now.
And when you are, and at town meeting, I would highly recommend that you go up and you present that, and then Russ will have his
Let
opportunity
me
to.
tell you something, if I'm in Boston on an engineered product, or structure, or building, or any type of project, I have to show specific information with guidelines, code compliancy, occupancy rates, everything, egress routes, handicap access, you name it, it has to be all in black
Right,
and white.
and I can appreciate that, but just for tonight, at this meeting, where we vote yes, we vote no, it's still going to go before you as the town, at town meeting, to voice those concerns and to vote it down. So even if we came out swinging for Russ or swinging out against him, if it goes to town meeting, you as the people get to voice that, and you get to vote it yes or no. You get to truly vote yes or no to this zone change.
Thank you for your time and clarification.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you. Do we have on-subject comments, please?
My name is Sandra Curran, and I live at One City Circle in Charlton. And as he's proposing to change it from agriculture to community business, North Brookfield Road is a highly populated residential area. And a big concern that I had last year was with children, so forth, attending events. But what I'm concerned about now with the increased travel and traffic, there are no sidewalks on Brookfield Road. You take your life in your hands at this point to cross the street. And if something is proposed to change to community business, I expect the town to put in sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Mark Warren, I live at 68 Brookfield Road. I've been listening to a lot of stuff, and I know it's a heated debate. The only thing I would ask the board to think about is, in rezoning this, you have to say to yourself, what is it that the business can't achieve now, based on the zoning that they have, that they're trying to achieve by having the community business zoning instead? What is it that they want? And obviously, there's more information to come, and that's great to know. But it would be good to clarify that, and also to say, what is the value of what they're going to offer with or without the zoning change? How is it going to impact the value to the town? Is it going to increase things tremendously for us in terms of growth, in terms of access, in terms of people that come, in terms of the money that's spent, in terms of the taxes that are paid? And that's also, good to know. I mean, I don't know how much specific you can get. I know it's difficult when you're talking about something that's a plan and a vision in your head, but it's good to understand that, and it's good to try to think about that. That's all.
Thank you. That is our role as a board, to look at the growth and development of Charlton, and we would recommend or not recommend based on the guidance of the master plan. And then, again, it would go to all of you and everybody at the town
No, I
meeting
understand. I'm just
to
saying,
decide.
Obviously, you have a lot of input, you have a lot of experience, you have a lot of background. You're the ones who can discuss best how these things have happened in the past and how they'll happen in the future, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy. Hi, Amy Stanley, 6 Sydney Circle. Just briefly speak to you, I want to stay on the zoning issue, but I did want to mention quality of life. If this zoning is allowed, the quality of life of numerous families are going to be affected. We're not talking just about Brookfield, but we're talking about, I've got here North Sullivan Road, North Sturbridge Road.
Can you talk more into the mic, please? I don't think they can hear you.
I have no voice either. Can you hear that?
You're live, we want to make sure.
So numerous families are going to be affected. Between those roads that I mentioned, there's a total of 204 families that will be affected. And these figures do not include any subsequent Charlton rezoning from A to community business. If this warrant is approved, the other land owners may see this as an opportunity to request this same type of rezoning. And this could result in, families in other parts of Charlton who will suffer the same quality of life reductions that this present group and families have already dealt with. I know you guys have, most of you, except for a couple of you, heard my noise video, the May 7th event. I recorded it in my home. I'm sorry, I won't talk anymore about that. But not only does this proposal contradict the Charlton Community Development Plan, but also the Charlton bylaws. So if it's allowed, it'll dramatically reduce the quality of life and our families. So we're just asking to please preserve, the sanctuary of our homes and our rural neighborhoods and our town. I know you guys will, address everything, and I just have one more question. Parcel 29AC, and there's one other parcel I can't tell from here. It is, I'm sorry.
A3?
No, that one, A8.
29A6.
A6, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's the same on the other guy.
All right, let me find it. There are 2 parcels that they're currently requesting to is in the future, if they would just decide to sell this property, could somebody come back and ask for like extreme here, NASCAR racing or other things? If it's already been approved to do motocross on a residential zone. I don't understand how that even got passed through, because it's not an allowed use of bylaw.
That would be a Kirk question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was it. And currently the only
It's not to me.
community business is along Route 20 and 169. There's nowhere in this town that there's community business other than, so that's where it basically should be. I mean, that's what the district intent was, to keep it all on central roads, not in literally in our backyards. I'm not sure if anybody can see this.
No, don't even.
That one. This is currently
That's
what.
off point.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I mean, it's our concern. If this is being, it's okay that it's now, it's okay. If they were to sell it to somebody who has deeper pockets and who can afford to make something bigger, you know, will that be allowed also? Is my question.
And that is an excellent point for town meeting.
Okay, gotcha. That is it. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Amy.
Any other comments, questions?
Hi, I'm Warren Cisco from North Sullivan Road, Charlton, Mass. My property abuts a lot of this proposal. The A there is a parcel that has 128 acres. Do you need any hardship or anything to try to change your zoning to CB?
No.
No hardship is necessary?
The town vote.
So if I wanted to change mine, what would I have to do? I could be
Just get this,
CB zoned also,
get this,
right?
go through the process, get the signatures in time for the, town meeting and.
Engineer,
Exactly what Mr.
lawyer.
Jennings is doing now.
Engineer, lawyer.
Exactly.
All zoning changes have to go up in front of a town meeting,
Yeah,
to the town votes.
I don't think it should be changed, but if he's gonna change his, I might as well change mine too.
Everyone has the right to ask for a zone change if they go through the proper channels. Whether the town as a whole sees fit that it's a proper use, whether they feel that it's a good thing, that's where town meeting comes in and that's where people vote. And that's where the town is heard, one direction or the other. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with you, but that's why these things are put to town meetings, so that the town as a whole can come out and say, yes, this is a good idea, and no, it's not a good idea, and very rarely are these votes unanimous. So,
Yeah.
Okay. On another note, every time they have one of these events, the prevailing wind blows across to my property and all the napkins, potato chip bags, all the crap blows over on mine.
and hopefully on Earth Day, we can get rid of all of that, and that won't happen again.
Are you gonna,
And I'm not being-
personally sponsor that?
The
We
town is
do.
sponsoring
We
that.
have many Girl Scout troops out there
Yes.
picking up trash,
Yep.
so
All right,
I can tell
thank
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Warren's. Yep. Warren's, yep.
Any more comments? Please. And then we just continue. Okay. Continue.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Iris Jennings. I live on Brookfield Road. And I'd just like to clarify some things here tonight. My husband, when he served his country in Korea, he said he'd like to, if he ever got married, he'd like to bring up his children on a farm, because he was brought up on a farm. And when we married, I thought it was wonderful. So we tried farming. We rented our fields to Billy Grimes and Marion Maynard, Dresser Hill Farm. They were wonderful farmers. They would turn over the land and redo it every few years, which is proper when you farm. Also, we tried beef cattle. We had a herd of beef, and we did try to make a life out of farming. However, that didn't work. So in the meantime, my husband and I, we built houses around Charlton. I think most people know my husband's name, Gary Jennings. He's passed away since. My sons came to me a few years ago after my husband had passed away, and they said, "Mother, we have a plan for the property." And I said, "Well, let's hear it then and see what's what." We couldn't hay the fields. We couldn't have beef cattle. So they said, "You know what would be a great idea? If we had young people come here and work during the summer, and if they had enough good marks at the end, when we had everything completed, we wanted to have cross-country skiing, horseback riding, all kinds of activities were planned. Not just motocross, which my boys know that I'm not too fond of at all. I'll be quite frank about that. But all the other activities, I had spoken to Miss Carey, I believe that's her name, at Audubon. I wanted a school classroom for the children to learn about birds, which I love. I go through 400 pounds of black seed, black sunflower seed a year for the birds because I love them and I love nature. And I think my neighbors know that from living here over 40 years. Anyway, they'd started this, the cross-country skiing classrooms. We had that all planned. They had an event last year. I believe they had 2, maybe 3. And all of a sudden, the town had given their approval, believe it or not. The fire department was quite enthusiastic. The police were also. Everything was done according to the laws and the rules of Charlton and the state. Also, the hearing, the sound, that passed the state. The property is a half a mile off Brookfield Road where they want to keep all those activities going, not on top of people's houses. My house is right there too, and so are my neighbors, whom I'm very fond of. But I thought I'd come and tell you the ideas that they did have and how everything was stopped all of a sudden. I don't know why, but I haven't inquired, and I'm hoping that the people of the town of Charlton will think things over for themselves. And that's what we're supposed to do. We live in a great country. Thanks be to God, we can vote how we feel. I came here many, many years ago because people said, go to America, work hard, and you can get ahead. And people worked together. They didn't fight with each other like they're fighting today. They get angry with each other. We were going to put in solar. That didn't work out. We were going to put the big turn things, whatever they call those.
Windmills.
The windmills, thank you. And my neighbor, Mrs. Brunel, said, oh, we don't want that up there because the sound is terrible. So I didn't follow through with that. So I thought the outdoor activities would be wonderful. The high school kids could, once their marks were up high enough, they could gradually build up their marks, and then maybe when they graduate, they could get scholarships. We had discussed all this. And then all of a sudden, everything was shut down. I don't know why. I've never looked into it, to be honest with you, and I should have. This is the first time I believe I've spoken here to the town. But that's why I'm speaking up now, because I do have an interest in our town, and I have grandchildren, and I just love it here, like you all do. That's why you live here. That's why my husband bought it in 1962 when he came out of the Army. So, like I said, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to fight with anybody. That's not my thing. People know me. I'm just here to explain to you how happy I was, and I was happy for my sons and my family and the community. Now, all of a sudden, it was stopped. I received a notice, stop, no more. So now my sons decided they would try and go with community business. Again, thank you for your time, and I thank all of you here also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jennings.
On that note, you want to continue?
Last comment?
I'll be brief, Madam Chairman. Ron Charette, 205 Brookfield Road. We're talking about a zoning matter that is going before a town meeting, as has been stated, so that our fellow residents of the town can make a decision whether they want to change an agricultural zone to a commercial business zone. And at town meeting, hopefully, the presentation will be much more in-depth, so we understand exactly what is going to happen there, so it can be much more informed. I respect what Mr. Jennings says. There's some litigation he talked about. hemmed in, can't speak about specific details. But I would say to you that really that's an important element at town meeting, because you're making a change, a dramatic change in a community. I've lived there over 40 years, so you're talking about making a dramatic change to a community. What will be the benefit to the community? And that needs to be discussed. That's a topic of debate. Not discussing taxes and other, that's all well and good, but we're talking quality of life for not just the immediate abutters that live there, but for the entire town. What will be the benefit if we make this change? Because as somebody said, once you open this barn door and allow community business in an agricultural or residential zone, the template is set for the rest of the town. So there better be a very, very good reason, a very valuable reason to the entire community as to why we would support it. And because we don't know that now, and I know we can't discuss it, the zoning issue really has to be brought out in great detail, vetted in great detail at the town meeting, so that the voters can go and say, does this make sense to do? Should we do this? Is this a future path that we want to go on as citizens of our community? They may say yes. They may say no. But we really have a lack of information, very specific information, tangible information, to be able to say, I'm all for it. This is going to be a good thing for the entire community. How it affects me personally is one thing. How it affects the entire community is another. And I think that is really what we need to focus on for the annual town meeting. What is the benefit to this town in really making a dramatic shift and change in how we have zoned commercial business, community business in this town? Thank you.
Thank you.
If I might, just want to thank Ron for bringing up those points, and they'll certainly be addressed at the town meeting. We'll definitely have more of a discussion about certain things that we can't this evening, unfortunately. But touching on a couple points that Ron did just make, I would really encourage everyone to look at the master plan, read the master plan, read the open space recreation plan, see what those studies really do say. So you can honestly say, when you make a statement and you're saying it's in the spirit of the master plan or the open space recreation plan, you know exactly what that means. And, you know, I would also like to just briefly touch on Ms. Stanley's remark of, this project is not going to affect 200 people in Charlton. This project is affecting all of Charlton, and we've always taken the steps forward with that in mind. And that's, I'd leave you with that this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We want to So do we want to make a motion to continue to May 2nd, 8 PM?
Yeah, I would make a motion to continue the public hearing to May 2nd at 8 PM.
Just for your knowledge, May 5th is actually my EDC meeting, I believe, the date. So you won't have that information at that point in time.
It's
And,
Saturday.
Saturday.
I'm sorry, Alicia might actually have the
Yeah, May
date.
7th is the EDC meeting.
7th, I apologize.
So the next scheduled meeting is May 16th.
Yeah, you know what, I apologize. The
or we can
EDC
have
meeting is
another
May 14th.
May 9th meeting.
Okay.
It's not till the 14th.
Oh, so you, unfortunately, you wouldn't,
Oh, wait, they're saying the 14th.
Yeah, it's the
unfortunately,
14th. I
you wouldn't have
apologize.
that information.
So May
So-
16th is the next meeting, does that,
That would work.
That's pretty late
so
That's too late.
the
for the
two,
planning board. I mean, you could, if you think you could make a decision that night. You know,
I would-
take
I
the
think we
vote.
can make it.
Through the
together.
chair,
Have all the information we
Yeah,
need.
but then we'll have the more information and we'll make this, do what we need to do.
through the chair, I know that we're not going to have that information. And with that said, I would ask you to close the public hearing and vote however you need to based off the information, all of us knowing that ultimately we do have the annual town meeting where ultimately the citizens decide. So I apologize for the confusion this evening.
I'd still like to continue. I think it's only fair to hear what the EDC has to say.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to continue to the 16th? We would like to make a decision knowing all the facts, and we'll, we can make a decision either way. It'll solve, timing will be fine. I want to make a rash decision or force the board to vote when we're not ready. We want to do things correctly with a get as much information as possible.
Motion so moved.
Do you,
All in- so I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no.
All in favor?
Wait.
A
Do we wanna-
discussion?
First of all, I have a question.
No, just stick it.
Hopefully we won't have that.
Can we do this before?
Yeah.
Get it done?
Yeah.
Okay, like,
7:10.
so we can fit it in at 7:10 on May 16th,
Perfect.
And this won't affect,
timing-wise, as long as
Well-
we do it.
You would have to, in order for town meeting to vote on the 21st,
Mhm.
you would have to make a recommendation on the 16th.
and that's good enough.
That's fine.
And it could be either way,
Right.
just to get it to the,
Okay, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
so,
This
You made
motion's
a
on the
motion?
table, yep.
Second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
So continue to May 16th at 7:10.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you just say that your recommendation has to be?
We need to have so we need to have a recommendation in either direction, yes or no, for it to go to town meeting.
No,
Before, prior to town meeting.
Prior to town meeting, we need to vote to approve or disapprove,
Or support or not
to
support.
support or not support it before town meeting.
all right.
Do we need to answer questions of people?
No.
Okay.
Excuse me? Oh, sure.
No, we're just accepting the plan.
Perfect.
Where are we at now?
So we are accepting the
Yeah,
the
pillar.
pillars.
Pillar.
So
So I think we can get that information.
So you ready?
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask everybody?
yeah, can we move conversations out just because we'd like to go home and see our kids tonight? And
Thank you.
She can stay, or she's just putting.
she wants to leave.
I don't know, you asked her.
She's looking for the bathroom. Are you looking for the bathroom? That way.
Oh, yeah?
Come here. She had dance video.
You can't leave though, you have to stay.
I have to stay, sorry,
Okay, what's next?
She's never gonna wanna be in any boards ever.
I'll be setting a precedent for you.
Okay, let's move on to our next agenda item.
Subdivision plan submittal.
Yes, so.
Yep.
The Pilar LLC has submitted a preliminary subdivision plan for Carpenter Hill Road. In order to preserve their right to build their solar project, they submitted a preliminary plan which the planning board needs to accept prior to the town meeting vote. So this is just really a formal acceptance of the board to receive the plan, so that they can file the appropriate certificate with the town clerk that it's been submitted to the planning board.
Not to
We
approve
have
the
to
plan,
ask
just
We have to
to.
vote
not
to
approving
accept
the
it,
plan.
right?
No,
just-
just voting to
We just
accept
have
it
to vote
now.
to accept the plan.
Is there a time limit on?
You have, I think, 45 days to act on a preliminary plan. But there's no public hearing required.
So
If everybody quiet down, maybe you could.
we are accepting, yes, we're accepting a preliminary plan. So it's just a formal acceptance of a preliminary plan.
Is this the one that you're talking about on Carpenter Hill Road?
Yep.
Yes.
We're not approving it, we're just accepting
You're
it.
accepting it.
We have to,
Correct.
formally accept it.
Okay, and then you're gonna have another hearing about that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Within
Well,
45,
There's no hearing required on a preliminary plan, but the planning board will review it and will post the meeting when that happens.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the submittal of the subdivision plan from Pilar LLC.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Now we can get done.
Do we have bills to do?
I don't think so. I haven't.
So,
Any bills?
Bills?
No, sweet.
so while I
Administrative business?
So, we all know sadly, Peter Starkus has resigned, and I just want to read his resignation letter so we can formally accept it. I would like to inform you that as of today, April 12, 2018, Peter Starkus, resigned from the Charlton Planning Board effective immediately. Sincerely, Peter Starkus. So do I have a motion to accept the resignation letter?
Unfortunately, yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So these are moving down to the planning board permit administration.
Yeah, we're just gonna get through some extensions. From Jason Martasi, on Hill Road, I am requesting a one-year extension on my limited frontage lot on Hill Road. Respectfully, Jason Martasi. The dates, it's a one-year extension to June 6, 2019.
Make a motion, we accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have another extension request from Rob Lemansky in 157 Sunset Drive. Dear Planning Board, on April 20, 2005, the Planning Board approved a special permit for 55 and over housing at Center Depot Road, Charlton. At this time, we are requesting a one-year extension of that special permit. Could you please place this subject on your next scheduled Planning Board meeting? They would like an extension to April 20, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
We have an A&R from PCK Realty.
We have Michael Scott here to present the plan.
Here, do you want me to hang it up, or?
Do you have something to?
Well, I have a copy of that, I can explain what's on the plan.
Okay, yeah.
Well, again, Michael Scott, I'm with WDA Design Group in Westboro, and I'm here for So the subject properties are located on Griffin Road, Sullivan Road, and Route 20. And this property, or this group of properties, is owned by Mr. McKissick, PCK Realty. We were working for Nexamp and have worked for them, solar company, over the past several years. They have installed a solar array on a portion of the property. Mr. McKissick acquired a few properties over the past few years that adjoined or are adjoining the parcel where the solar array exists. And he recently acquired property to the north of the solar array, which was a town-owned parcel that is shown as map 27, parcel C1. That's in the northwest corner. It abuts the turnpike. He acquired a parcel to the east of that, map 27, parcel B1, and map 27B3 to the south of B1. Those are on the opposite side of what had been Griffin Road, up at the north central part of the sheet, or the property. Griffin Road was discontinued by the town beyond where it's presently paved, so the unpaved and unimproved portion that ran between the parcels I just described and then ended at the Mass Turnpike was discontinued. By virtue of the discontinuance and abandonment, Mr. McKissick would then own to the center line from both sides, therefore he would own the entirety of that property. So this plan shows the combination of his parcels, and it's described in the upper left that it would combine 5 parcels as well as the portion of the abandoned Griffin Road. This plan was filed in part, two reasons. One, the plan protection that would be afforded if any zoning changes occurred going forward. And secondly, because in order for our client Nexamp to receive financing through the title work that's done and the Alta surveys that are prepared, this is a little bit of a confusing bunch of properties with storied histories. So this helps clarify for the financing people that he owns this. There's a surveyor's report. There'll be a full title report. But again, so it basically combines those 5 parcels plus the discontinued portion of Griffin. The lot has frontage on Sullivan Road, it actually has frontage on the Turnpike, if you could call it that, Sturbridge Road and Griffin Road. So it's surrounded, it's in multiple districts, but it has more than adequate area, more than adequate frontage in both districts.
Yeah, remember? He already has one on there, then they got permitted to do another one a couple months back.
Okay, and now we want to do.
Clean it up for the
Yeah.
legal stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Just to make it all
Okay.
one piece.
Any questions? Like to make a motion, we
Looks fine
approve
to
the
me.
A&R plan?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, yes.
Didn't you take yours?
Okay.
Jamie got it.
Have to make sure you date it so we can take it tonight.
Need to send them out.
What do you want, Mylar and one?
There you go.
I need to sign this one.
Yes.
I was just gonna ask that.
Okay.
Bill, do I need to sign that second one? Or is it- I'll come to you. Things that will be remembered.
The attorney, George Ritchie, must be, this one we need to submit a request to, thank you, have a good
Thank you,
evening.
have a great
Thanks
night.
for waiting.
It's complicated, but there was a approved subdivision plan that they submitted an A&R plan for, and but there was a covenant for the subdivision, which is no longer in effect, and it's not sign the release of the covenant.
Sorry.
Yes, I don't need it anymore.
I mean, if he's here, we might as well just do it.
Okay, that's what I thought, right, I wanted to ask you that.
George Carinzi again. I'm here right now on behalf of CB Land Development Corp. Several years ago, this board approved subdivision, Jenks Lane, for Pleasantdale Estates or Pleasant Builders or whatever. But that subdivision was approved back in 2004 and a covenant was put on. My client, CB Land Development, obtained title to the entire property and only a couple of years ago abandoned the design for a subdivision and did an A&R plan and special permits and divided the property into 3 lots, abandoning the roadway. When he did that, board approved that, the plans all record, everything's fine. Now we're building and selling them, and it's discovered in a title search that we never got a release of the covenants. There's no need for a covenant because the roadway and infrastructure for the subdivision is never gonna be built. So we need to get a formal release of the covenant so that the land, which is governed by the subdivision, is no longer subject to a covenant, because it's not a subdivision anymore. So I've drafted a covenant. I'm happy to show you the 2 plans if I may approach. So, and it's only little ones, I don't have a big printer in my office, but the original subdivision was Jenks Lane. That was approved back in 2004. So there was a roadway in here, small area of land up on the road, on Haggerty, and then the road came in multiple lots.
Blair came in and he abandoned the whole subdivision idea, put in the 3 lots and got rid of the roadway, cut it down to 3 lots. That was already approved, and that was approved in 2016. So this is a release, and then we just got a title report in on a house that's about to close. And I'm here in a bit of a panic asking for a release of that covenant, if I may. So I've drafted up, and I'll read it in for the record so that you don't have to. It says, the undersigned, being a majority of the planning board, hereby release of record the covenant executed by Pleasantdale Estates on December 5th, 2005, and recorded in the Registry of Deeds 37492, page 109. We hereby acknowledge the Jenks Lane subdivision entitled Haggerty Land Subdivision Plan, dated January 4th, 2004, and recorded in 8/30/119, has been supplemented and replaced of record by an approval not required plan entitled Plan of Land, Charlton, Mass., owned by CB Blair Development, 2016. As the subdivision way known as Jenks Lane has been abandoned and eliminated by the owner of the property, the covenant recorded is here I executed by Bryce Estate, so I struck that part out. So I'm sorry, that part has to be, my language, it talks about a different subdivision. I'm just looking for a release of the covenant.
So we can officially, this also says the town of Rutland down here too.
So we
So
can't
there it
sign
is.
that.
So-
All right.
So how do we,
Can you email a copy to the chair and to Bill?
Because haven't we already signed this document where Bill can endorse stuff for us?
I thought so, yeah. So
Right,
can we
have
do
we?
that?
and as the chair, I can,
I don't think I can release the covenant, though.
Okay, all right.
do
I'm
we need,
sorry.
do we need
Go to the board.
all the whole board to come and sign?
No, I think just the chair.
I can stop in.
Okay, beautiful, thank
So,
you.
Mike, do you have any
This is what I do when I
comments
do
on
my
this
own
before we?
typing. They call me, my wife voiced me, she said, we got a closing coming up, you still got a covenant on there, so I said, oh my God, so I started typing
I
it
just want
out.
to ask Mike. if he
Cut
has
and
any-
paste, but you
Do
forgot
you
to
have
cut.
any?
Exactly.
I think it's okay too, but I just,
I can stop in tomorrow. Can you email it to?
It'll be emailed, I can email it, I'll just
Send
go
it
back
to
to the office.
I can,
Yeah.
I can stop in like 8:30 on the way, like early, on the way to Boston, if we have it
I'll
early.
have it out, I'll have it to you
Okay.
tonight.
No, we need to vote on it?
Yeah. To vote to
All
release.
right, I'd like to
Okay.
make a motion, we release the covenant for that property on Haggerty Road owned by CB
Thank you.
Blair Builders.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, folks, I'll be there
Yeah.
tonight.
thank you.
Thank you.
We have no minutes. So now we do
We have to read them,
We don't have any minutes.
or can we just vote them?
No minutes.
we did accept Peters, sort of appoint you as acting chair, I think, until the annual election. And Ross would be acting vice chair.
Do we need to,
Until the
we need to
election.
vote for that?
I think so, right?
I make a motion, okay, yeah, I make a motion to appoint Patricia Redleck as the acting chairman and Ross Lemansky as the acting vice chair.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
If you really want it.
Chair,
No,
vice
no,
chair.
I meant, were there any votes to oppose
Unanimous.
that, then I'm opposing it.
So now we want to make an announcement?
Yes.
So we are going to enter an executive session. And the open session will reconvene at the conclusion, only to adjourn the meeting. We are meeting with respect to litigation or decisions on any public business with its jurisdiction involving another party, group, or entity. So we need a roll call to, first.
I make a motion, we enter into it.
Just
Are you
enter.
just- Okay, second motion and roll call vote.
Alicia Jeek? Aye, sorry.
Jean Vincent, aye.
Ross Lemansky, aye.
Clay, aye.
Patricia Ridloff, aye.
Okay, we are now in executive session.
Do I go get